The unexpected war. The Galactic Alliance Training Academy was known across the stars. It trained warriors from every major alien race, strong, proud, and competitive. Inside the giant halls of steel and light, cadets trained in battle, strategy, and survival. But no one ever paid attention to the humans. They always sat at the back of the hall, quiet, watching. A Voltar cadet named Rakan laughed loudly one day during tactical class. "Why do the humans always sit back there?" he said, pointing toward the far corner. "Afraid to face real warriors?" Others joined the laughter. A Brakan giant thumped his chest. "Humans are slow, soft. They observe because they fear real action." Even the instructor, an old alien named Trek Kor, didn't say anything. He just moved on with the lesson. At the back, Cadet Elias Stone, a young human, didn't react. He never did. He simply watched, listened, and took notes. He didn't fight for attention. He didn't argue. He didn't correct anyone, but he saw everything. 3 weeks later, everything changed. A message came from the edge of known space. Unknown ships entering Alliance territory. Large fleet. No response to hails. The instructors said it was nothing. The cadets returned to training until the sky above the academy turned black. Sirens blared. Lights flashed red. The ground shook. Explosions lit up the atmosphere as a fleet of warships arrived. Not pirates, not smugglers, but a new threat. The Karn Empire, a brutal, unknown race that never spoke, only conquered. The instructors panicked. "Evacuate. Get the cadets underground." But it was already too late. Karn soldiers had landed. Aliens who once boasted of strength now froze in fear. Some ran. Some begged. Some hid. The humans? They moved. Elias Stone and the other human cadets activated emergency. "Panels behind the training hall. Everyone inside," Elias shouted. "No orders, just follow me." They pulled panicked students into cover, sealed bulkhead doors, and activated the Academy's forgotten defense system. The same system most aliens didn't even know humans had upgraded. From the control room, Elias took charge. "Patch me into the comms." A voice spread across the Academy. "This is Cadet Stone of Earth. Stay calm. We are not leaving anyone behind. If you can hear this, follow human cadets to the safe zones. We've trained for this, let's move." Alien cadets, once mocking humans, now looked to them for leadership, and what they saw was something terrifying. Calm under fire. Elias led the charge through smoke and chaos, side by side with Karn soldiers who expected easy prey. He fought with strategy, not fury. He guided with control, not fear. By morning, the humans had evacuated the entire Academy population without losing a single life. And when reinforcements finally arrived from the outer system, they found human cadets holding the main gates with stolen weapons and improvised tactics. Aliens stood behind them, no longer laughing, now learning. The Academy's senior leaders held a meeting days later. They promoted Elias to commander-in-training, gave Earth a special status, and most importantly, they removed the back row seats because no one would ever again ask, "Why do humans sit in the back?" Now they knew they sit in the back, so when the front falls, they can rise. The ER, quiet ones. The Academy was no longer the same. The once loud and proud training halls had turned quiet. The students no longer bragged. They watched. They remembered. Everyone had seen it. The humans had saved them. Alien cadets from every system walked the halls with new eyes. Their heads no longer turned toward the strongest or the loudest, but toward the quiet ones. The ones who had sat in the back. The ones who had moved without panic. The ones who had led without shouting. Cadet Rakan, the Voltar who once mocked the humans, stood in front of Commander-in-Training Elias Stone. "I owe you my life," Rakan said, his voice low. Elias looked at him, calm. "You followed orders. That's why you're still alive." Rakan blinked. "You could have let me fall, you didn't." Elias shrugged. "That's not how we were raised." Rakan nodded slowly, then stepped back. No more jokes. No more insults, only respect. The Academy leadership called a new assembly. This time, the humans didn't sit in the back. They sat in the center. Admiral Trek Kor stood before the crowd. "The Karn Empire has not responded to any peace calls," he said. "They're preparing for another strike." He looked directly at Elias Stone. "We've chosen Earth to lead the Joint Cadet Defense Command." A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. But no one objected. They had all seen what humans did. When war came, training changed after that. The instructors no longer taught fear-based discipline. They taught what the humans showed them. Focus under pressure, silent teamwork, trust in small, precise action. Think before moving. Move with purpose. Elira, a Zarath cadet, asked Elias one day during drills, "Why didn't you ever speak up before the attack?" Elias didn't stop. "Walking. We didn't need to." She caught up beside him. "But why sit in the back?" He finally looked at her. "Because sitting in the front is easy when everything's calm. Sitting in the back means we see who panics when things go wrong." She was quiet, then said, "That's terrifying." He smiled faintly. "Exactly." Later, Elira told her friends, "The humans don't lead because they want to be seen. They lead because no one else does when it matters." Meanwhile, the Karn Empire grew bolder. They started capturing outer systems, destroying communication lines, spreading fear. But every time they moved, they heard a name: Earth's cadets. The alien High Council feared it would create chaos. Humans are gaining too much influence. They're not ready to lead. They're emotional, unpredictable. But one senior general answered, "Yes, but they do not freeze, and when others fall, they rise." Back at the academy, the cadets prepared for the next battle. Elias stood before a group of mixed-species students. They all wore new armbands marked with a symbol, a silent eye above a shield, the symbol of the backline command, a human-made strategy team. Elira stood among them. Rakon, too. Even the Brakon giants joined. They all waited for Elias to speak. He didn't give a speech. He gave a sentence. "When the front line breaks again, because it will, we hold." No one cheered, but every head nodded. They understood now. When the front fails, the galaxy thought it had time. After the first Karn attack, the Alliance believed the enemy would wait, regroup, and strike months later. They were wrong. The Karn returned. In days, outposts on the rim worlds fell within hours. Communications went dark. One message came through before silence. They're not here to conquer. They're here to erase. The Galactic Academy was ordered to evacuate all cadets to safer planets, but Earth's cadets stayed behind. Elias Stone stood at the Academy's command table studying the map. "They'll come here next," he said. "We're the last line before the core systems." Elira looked at him. "We don't have the numbers." "We have the right people," Elias replied. Across the base, cadets from every species suited up. The same ones who once laughed at humans now followed their lead. Bracken giants carried shield drones. Xerex flyers scouted high altitudes. Zarath tacticians synced their systems to Earth Command. And in the center of it all, the humans, ready but silent. The first wave of Karn ships darkened the sky. They didn't speak. They didn't wait. They struck fast. The Academy's frontline defense collapsed in less than 10 minutes. Panic spread through the outer rings. Elias didn't blink. He tapped his comms. "All units, Phase 2. Backline protocol. We hold, and we don't run." As the Karn broke through the outer walls, they expected chaos. They found formation. Humans and aliens, side by side, lined up in narrow corridors, choke points, and fallback traps. The Karn ran straight into precision. Elira ducked under fire, then shouted, "Left flank is holding." Rakon roared as he threw a Karn soldier into a wall. "They're pushing hard." Elias stood in the center of the back line, not shouting, guiding. "Let them think they're winning, and then we cut the line." The Karn didn't understand. No screaming, no chaos. Just calm resistance. The kind that came from people who had already faced fear, and won. A Karn commander watched from above. "These cadets, they're students." Another replied, "No, these are the ones who waited." Hours passed. Explosions lit up the sky. Fires burned in every corner of the base. But the back line held. Again, and again, and again. Finally, Alliance reinforcements arrived. They expected to find ruins. They found the Karn retreating. And cadets still standing, aliens and humans alike, bruised, bloodied, but not broken. Later in the medical bay, a Voltar general approached Elias. "You were a student," he said. "Now you're a commander." Elias didn't look up from helping a wounded cadet. "We've always been ready," he said. "You just didn't see it." The council voted that night. Earth's training methods would now be shared with every system. The backline protocol was adopted galaxy-wide, and a new motto appeared on every cadet badge: "Hold the line." Elira sat beside Elias under the stars, their uniforms burned, their hands still shaking. "You knew the front would fall," she whispered. He nodded. "It always does." "Why didn't you tell them sooner?" He looked out into space. "Because sometimes they have to see the fall before they're ready to follow the ones in the back. The leaders." No one expected. The battle at the academy changed everything. For centuries, strength had been measured by power, size, and noise. But now, the galaxy whispered a new truth. The humans led from the back and saved us all. On news, channels across star systems, footage spread like wildfire. Human cadets calmly directing troops under fire. Elias Stone standing tall, giving orders without panic. Alien students looking to humans, not for rescue, but for guidance. The galaxy began asking a question no one had dared before. Should humans lead us into the next war? At the academy, cadet life changed forever. The humans were no longer just present. They were respected. New classes were created based on Earth's methods: mental strength under pressure, calm conflict response, silent leadership training alien. Students lined up to attend. Elias Stone sat in the new strategy center with Elira and Rakon beside him. A council advisor spoke through the holo feed. "The Karn are retreating, but we believe they're regrouping. Bigger fleet, heavier weapons. They will strike again," Rakon growled. "Then we hit them first." Elias raised a hand. "No, we prepare, but we don't act like them." Elira nodded. "We lead differently now." The advisor asked, "And who should lead this new defense? Alliance?" The room went quiet. All eyes turned to Elias. He didn't smile. He didn't move. He just said, "We all do. Together." That answer spread across command channels. And something new began. The United Cadet Coalition, led by no single race, but guided by Earth's example. Each species contributed skills. The Bracon offered armor and brute defense. The Xerex trained pilots in fast response tactics. The Zareth engineered new mixed species interface systems. And the humans? They trained everyone how to hold steady when fear knocks first. Back in the academy courtyard, a young alien cadet approached Elias. "Sir, why didn't you ever try to be in charge before?" Elias looked at the stars. "Because I didn't need to be." The cadet tilted his head. "But now you are." Elias nodded. Now, they're ready to listen. The Karn were watching. In their deep space strongholds, commanders whispered about Earth. Not the strongest, not the largest, but the most dangerous. They knew they had made a mistake. They attacked the front, but forgot to watch the back. One Karn general hissed, "Humans lead now." That was not in the plan. Another replied, "Then the plan has failed." On Earth, old generals reviewed footage from the academy. One of them laughed softly. "We always said our strength wasn't in how loud we fought, but how long we stood." Soon the entire galaxy was preparing, not with fear but with focus. And everywhere you looked, humans were there. Not shouting, not boasting, but teaching others how to rise when everything else falls. Elira walked beside Elias one evening. After long hours of drills and briefings, You never wanted to be a hero, she said. He glanced at her. I still don't. But the galaxy thinks you are. He stopped walking. Then I hope they learn the right thing from me. Not to follow a name, but to follow the ones who never needed to be seen. When the galaxy followed Earth, the flags of 100 worlds now flew over the Galactic Defense Base. Once divided by pride, politics, and fear, the races of the galaxy stood, side by side at the center of it all, Earth, but not because of power, not because of technology, because of how humans endured. The United Cadet Coalition, founded by Elias Stone and his team, was no longer an experiment. It had become the galaxy's only hope. The Karn Empire was preparing for a final assault, a fleet 10 times larger than before, no peace talks. No warnings, just one message intercepted. Break their hope, silence their backline. On the command deck of the defense base, Elira read the transmission out loud. Rakan clenched his fists. They know where our strength is now. They always did, Elias replied. They just didn't understand it. Preparation began. New squads were formed with mixed species teams. Each team had a human leading or advising quietly in the ranks. They didn't bark orders. They didn't take credit, but they built trust. And the galaxy noticed. A young Zareth cadet asked Elira during training, "Why do humans lead like this?" Elira answered simply, "Because they don't lead from the front or the top. They lead from wherever they're needed most." On the eve of the coming battle, the Coalition Command held a final strategy meeting. Fleet commanders debated where to strike, how to defend, who to place where. Some voices were loud, but when Elias stood, the room fell silent, not from rank, but from earned respect. He looked around the room, calm and steady. The Karn don't fear strength. They fear order. They fear a galaxy that won't break when pushed. So we hold. We move with purpose. And if the front line falls, we do what we always do. He pointed to his chest, where the backline symbol glowed faintly. We rise. Across the stars, the call went out. Follow the humans. Not because they are better, but because they show us how to be better. The Karn fleet entered the system like a storm. Thousands of ships, cruisers, bombers, ground drop units. The sky turned black, the stars vanished behind fire and steel, and then the Coalition stood. Every world sent its best, not to die, but to defend each other. Rakan stood at the front gates of Defense Base Sector 7, shield ready. Elira coordinated 6 species from the air tower. And Elias? He walked the back ranks, checking defenses, speaking softly to scared cadets. You're not alone. Fear doesn't get to win today. We hold, that's all. When the first wave hit, it was like thunder. Explosions, smoke, screams. The front began to break, but no one ran. Because now, they all knew what came. Next, the backline stepped forward, not to replace but to support, and together they pushed back. Hours passed. The Karn sent everything they had, but no matter what broke, a wall was rebuilt, a unit filled the gap, a voice said, "Hold," and the galaxy obeyed. The Karn pulled back in confusion. Why won't they fall? Because they weren't fighting one race. They were fighting a united galaxy, taught by the only ones who had learned to hold when everything else failed. When the battle ended, silence filled space. Not from fear, but from awe. The galaxy had done what no one believed possible, and at the heart of it was Earth's quiet lesson. You don't need to lead the loudest. You just need to be the last to fall. The human who taught a galaxy to endure. The war was over. The Karn fleet had fallen. Their fear-based empire shattered, not because of weapons or fleets or numbers, but because they ran into something they didn't understand: endurance. Across the galaxy, people remembered that final day, when the front line cracked, and no one ran, when fear rose like fire, and was met with quiet strength, and when the one who once sat silently in the back stood at the front of it all. Commander Elias Stone became a name spoken in every language. But he didn't return home. To Earth. He returned to the Galactic Unity Academy where everything had started, where he had once sat in the back row, quiet, unnoticed, and mocked. Now the academy was rebuilt, and above the main entrance one new line was carved into stone. The quiet ones watch, the strong ones wait. But when they rise, they lead us all. Illyra walked through the academy, garden, now a memorial. She passed statues not of soldiers with weapons, but of cadets standing shoulder to shoulder, humans and aliens alike. At the center stood one sculpture of Elias, not holding a gun, not shouting, simply standing still with eyes forward. She found him sitting nearby on a bench, older now, calm as ever. "I didn't want them to build that," he said. She smiled. "It's not for you. It's for everyone you taught." He looked at the students passing by. "They're smarter now, more united. Because of you." He shook his head. "Because they saw what matters. That fear is part of life. But running isn't the only answer." Back in the outer systems, new training camps opened. Earth's model was used everywhere. Every race began teaching the next generation how to stay calm under fire, help the one beside you, speak only when it matters, and stand even when your legs shake, one instructor told a young cadet. "We don't train to be fearless, we train to keep moving through the fear." Another added, "That's what the humans taught us." Meanwhile, in Old Karn territory, leaders from conquered planets rebuilt their worlds, and in each of their new laws they included something strange. The right to lead was no longer based on rank or race or title. It was based on who rose when others fell. At the academy, Illyra sat with Elias for one last conversation. "Do you regret not shouting back at those who mocked you long ago?" Elias smiled slightly. "No, because shouting wouldn't have changed their minds. But standing when they fell? That did." She looked out over the campus. "It's strange how one quiet human changed the course of history." He looked at her, voice calm as always. "I didn't change anything, I just reminded them of something they forgot, that real strength isn't loud." Far above, a group of new cadets boarded a transport ship. As they lifted off, one whispered to another, "Did you hear about the human who didn't move when fear came?" The other nodded. "He didn't sit in the back because he was weak. He sat in the back, so he could rise when no one else would." The back row became the front line. Time passed. Peace returned to the galaxy. No more surprise invasions. No more fear gas. No more mocking of the quiet ones. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate those who sit in silence. Elias Stone, now older, walked slowly through the academy halls. The same halls where he was once ignored. The same halls where he had once sat in the back row. Now cadets stood when he entered. Not because he asked, but because they respected him. Some of them were human. Most were not, but all of them followed his example. On the wall above the lecture hall was a new motto. "When the front breaks, the back must be ready to stand." The Galactic Unity Academy had changed forever. The training now began with a simple test, not of strength or speed, but of patience. In one class, a young cadet asked the instructor, "Why do humans always teach silence first?" The instructor, a Brakan warrior, smiled. "Because they know battles are won before the eye." Shouting begins. Illyra, now a Galactic Council leader, gave a speech to the graduates. "In the past we honored warriors who shouted the loudest," she said. "But our greatest victory came from someone who waited, watched, listened, and then rose." She paused. "The humans didn't want the spotlight, they just wanted to make sure someone held the line." That evening, Elias sat alone beneath the academy stars. A young cadet approached quietly. "Sir?" the cadet asked. "Why did you always sit in the back?" Elias didn't answer right away. Then softly he said, "Because it's where I could see everything, and where no one saw me, until it mattered." The cadet asked, Is it better to lead from the front? Elias looked up at the stars. You lead from wherever people need you most. And sometimes, that place is behind everyone else. So you're the last one standing. Years later, a massive statue was built. Not of Elias alone, but of a formation, humans and aliens together, shoulder to shoulder. In the center, a single empty space. A symbol of the one who always stood at the back. Until everyone else needed him to rise. Underneath it read, "We thought they were hiding, but they were watching. And when the galaxy needed them, the back row became the front line." And so the story ended, not with a shout, but with a whisper passed from world to world. Be like the human, sit, wait, learn, and when the time comes, stand.